this, but all right. Well, officially welcome. We have Josiah entering in here and Jamin here in a second. I just admitted. So it looks like we got the whole crew coming today. Well, welcome to the AZYA cohort, our leadership journey. This is the first time we're doing this. Okay. So everyone on this call, you're a pioneer in this moment. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Griffin, and I think I know most of you, at least have some context with you guys. And I do serve as a young adults director in Arizona, and our young adults team is growing in Arizona as well. We have Ashley Wemit, who is a young adults pastor, and that's her job, and she has her church there in Desert Springs and Chandler. But Ashley also serves part-time, but she is on the young adult staff, youth and young adults in the Arizona Ministry Network. So she's our ministry coordinator. So Ashley, you want to say hello real quick to everybody?
Hey, how's it going? I'm excited to be here. I've been I don't know, I've just really been craving like some young adult pastor leader community because I just feel like it's not like a new ministry, but I feel like a lot of churches are finally catching on how important it is. And so I'm just excited that we can all just like spend the next couple months learning from each other and getting to see each other face to face. I know some of you, and some of you I like totally recognize your names, but it's like really cool to be able to like just be kind of face to face over Zoom, I guess. Especially like planning and looking forward to like the summer and going into summer weekend and everything. So yeah, excited.
Awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. On the call as well, we have Elise Wood, who is a network associate with our ministry network. So we contract Elise as part of our team, and she is a entrepreneur. Her and her husband actually are planting a church as well, but she leads a ministry called Ripple Effect, and so we contract Ripple Effect in our leadership development. And Elise probably knows some of you as well already, or knows some of your young adults. But this is a big part of our strategy with young adults is developing our young adults, mentoring them, and really believing that there is a call of God on their life, and we want to help them develop that call. And so I'm grateful to have Elise on this cohort because I know whether maybe you're getting to know her a little bit more through this, I feel she's going to add so much value to our young adult leadership. And you guys all on this call, you're worth investing in. And I'm just consider it just a real opportunity for us to just see some of our very best people. And you're in such pivotal ministries when it comes to the future and the current realities of our churches. And so, Elise, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the team as well, and just say hello.
Yeah, thanks, Griffin. We're very blessed. I mean, I know you guys know this, but we really have incredible leadership in Bethany and Griffin. And the fact that there's even this intentionality, right, to create space for this is just incredible. And hopefully we don't take that lightly. Like, we get the opportunity to do this together. There's no reason why we should feel like we're alone in ministry. And so it's incredible. Griffin, thanks for just your intentionality. I want to honor you in that. It is not just something that happens, right? Like your intentionality goes above and beyond what we could even put it to words. So thank you. And then for those of you guys who I don't know, I would love to get the chance to meet you. Hopefully you guys are all going to some weekend here coming up literally in about a month from now, which is crazy. We're like a month and a half out from camp. And so it's going to be kind of fun. Hopefully you're going. There are a lot of faces on here that I do know. I'm seeing, Freddie and Elisa. I call them Yuma. That's their nickname. We've had these conversations, but they've been in Ripple Effect with us. And so it's been such an honor to get to pour into them. I see, obviously, you and Niece, like, girl, crushing it, like just changing the world day after day. And 2911 represent, let's go. It's so awesome. Incredible. Jamin, I see you as well. Obviously don't know Jesse and Marisa, but it's incredible to get to even connect with you guys here just over Zoom, and hopefully we'll be able to continue the relationship, that this is just a front door and an opportunity for us to connect with you guys where you feel like you're not alone in this journey of ministry. We don't want you to feel like you're by yourself, where we can hold your arms up, especially in the world of like bivocational ministry, right? And the unknowns that come with that. So just know that you're surrounded. We're with you. We're on the same team. It's incredible as the capital C church to get to do this together to build the kingdom of God. And so looking forward to getting to know you guys better as we move forward. And it is just an honor to get to be a part. Thanks so much, Griffin.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elise. Yeah, it's been really fun to be part of this community in Arizona. And Bethany and I, we still feel like we get to do this. And we were invited in. Feels like an end of an era because it is. Pastor Harris, our superintendent, just basically has like a month left or maybe a few weeks left in the office, and he is no longer going to be our superintendent. We have a new elected superintendent, Jeff Peterson, and so my boss has changed, and the guard has kind of changed there. And Pastor Harris, when he first asked me to come to Arizona, he asked me to lead young adults, and so that was my first assignment. In the middle of strategizing for that, putting my heart on paper, it was going to be fundraising that was involved. It would involve Chi Alpha and kind of strategizing how this would look in Arizona. But we were kind of pioneering a new young adult ministry in Arizona. And that was back in 2012. And in the middle of the planning and organizing that with the DYD at the time, Tim Black, Tim felt the Lord was asking him to step down and take a leap of faith and step into whatever God had next. And I was like, Tim, like, what happened, dude? We were like planning this young adult stuff because your step of faith, we didn't talk. And so I don't know what we're going to do with young adults now. But the leadership had asked me, okay, I know we talked young adults, but would you consider being the youth director in Arizona? And so it wasn't something Beth and I like thought we would ever sign up for, never campaigned to do something like this. But what it spoke to us was that our leadership was investing in young leaders, and they were making investment in the ministry that we'd be serving in. And so it wasn't just like a personal call. I felt like our leadership has the backing. We have the backing of our leadership when it comes to next gen ministries, and the fact that they put a 23-year-old, in leadership, leading a department still blows my mind. I feel like there's times I'm like, I don't think I would do that even now. But then again, I'm challenged because I'm like, okay, clearly like there were things that God was doing to qualify me for that time. Like I was, I don't want to take any of that lightly, that Bethany and I had dedicated ourselves to the Lord, like we were serving at a high capacity. But it did challenge me in a level too of like, okay, if they see something in me, I don't see in myself. Clearly, this is like a God ordained moment of God seeing stuff in young people, and he's put it in the hearts of leadership to acknowledge this. And so the fact that I can just attribute so much of who I am today from leaders who saw something in me, invested in me, speaks volumes. And so the reason I feel like you're in this room, you've been hand selected and chosen to say, we see something in you, you're leading high capacity level. We want to just further this along. The reason it's called a leadership cohort, there's a mixture, and you kind of price on the agreement. There's a mixture of mentoring and coaching, a little bit of both. Mentoring is more of an idea of kind of passing on information to the next wave, teaching something that you've not yet experienced. And so you're kind of passing on shared wisdom or information. And so there may be some of those things. I acknowledge I'm 35 now, and I'm in a different place in life, season of life, stage of life than I was as a young adult, which are terms identifying that demographic is 18 to 25. It's just the target market we've chosen to identify. It's not limited to exclusive, but that's our demographic. So I'm outside of that, and I would say hopefully I've got wisdom to share into that demographic. And that's a little bit more mentoring. But the reason coaching I think is a little bit different is coaching refers to more like a stage coach, kind of the original term of coach, and the idea that you're on the ride. Sometimes you just need to be told, kind of maybe ask questions where to go. And my hope would be in this leadership journey is, my belief is you already have it in you. You're already in the seat. What I'm trying to do as more of a coach and guiding is have you potentially consider powerful questions that would draw more out of you, because I believe it's already in you. If you remember the old Gatorade commercials, is it in you? Like, I believe it's in you, and God sees it in you. And so I'm not the one who calls you. The Arizona Ministry Network, the Assemblies of God, doesn't call you. We can affirm. It's a kind of this peer recognition And so I'm recognizing God has a plan for your life, and let me help you to help discover that. And so that would be what I'd love to do. I want this to be as relational as possible. My hope would be at the end of this time, you have a new contact list of more young adult leaders and people. I'd say this is cool, and I'm honored to be at a season of life to pour into you. But can I go as far to say that I don't think I'm the best resource on this cohort? I think some of the best resource in this cohort is going to be each other and unlocking some of the ideas that are just dormant right now. And or maybe they're like, maybe for some of you, you're like on the edge of the seat with a God idea and you just need a safe place to be able to process it. And so however this can be like a safe place, you signed as well, there's a confidentiality portion, part of the agreement as well. And so we want this to be a safe place for you to feel you're in a good community. You might be in a pivotal moment in this summer journey as well. And so I recognize that and just want to be as best I can to help equip you for what's ahead. And I love that, at least that you're on this as well, because I know you've taken some of your young adult leaders through Ripple Effect, but it might be one of the things that, in this, we can identify and broaden our network where through the journey, you can identify some people you want to bring into this. And it looks like we got Bubble Boy joining us here. So I'm actually, I'm anticipating. I don't know who this is. So, hey, if Bubble Boy, you want to reveal yourself, I'd be thrilled to know who this is. Look at you. Oh, it's a multiverse. This is Josiah coming in. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Josiah. So yeah, my hope would though be maybe for Elise too, at the end of this leadership cohort, that there's multiple names of people from your young adult context that you'd say, I want to pull up some young disciples around me and invest in them a little further, so we can give candidates to Elise to say, here's people I'd love to see join into your Ripple Effect journey as well. And so my hope is that this community grows and we see maybe there's a couple individuals that aren't on the list that didn't make this first wave of the cohort, but what does the cohort 2 look like? How do we keep growing and develop this? So I just want you to know, like, transparently, the agenda, or like my heart is, I want to invest in you. And like Elise said, it doesn't just happen organically. I think it happens intentionally. And I'm not so arrogant to think that this is all on me. This is a community. God is moving so much bigger than the Assemblies of God. I love our kingdom slice of the pie. We have our slice and it's awesome, but the kingdom of God is much bigger than the Assemblies of God. And so I recognize that there's a move on young adults in Arizona that is special, but it's not unique in the sense of God's available everywhere. And I think we can keep what is happening in Arizona spreading throughout the nation. And I think it is setting a great precedent. I get a lot of calls from people around the nation saying, what is it you guys are doing in Arizona? And I am like as open-handed of like, I don't know. Well, I mean, I can tell you what some of the things we're doing, but I can tell you God's blessing us. And I can also tell you it's not just for us. And so we want to hold this with an open hand and bless the nations. That's our hope with this too. So I feel very blessed to have Elise have a ministry like Ripple Effect in Arizona. And we use two terms. We say Arizona is your home and it's also your hub. And so we're grateful that you consider Arizona home, that you and Blair are doing ministry here, you're planting a church here. But we also consider it a blessing that you have an open hand to see Ripple Effect be a national and international blessing to the community of believers. So I'm very thankful. So one other thing I just want to make mention to, because today my hope is like orient us, get to know each other a little bit, not take probably the full amount of time, but ask you some questions and give you guys maybe a little margin of today to think about and come back with some questions for next time we meet on the cohort. But I will tell you, there is a textbook that is recommended, definitely not required, but it's one that I'm not gonna, this isn't a book study. We're not gonna do it that way, but there's a book called Growing Young by, if someone actually could look this up and share the link, that'd be awesome too. But it's Growing Young. Kara Powell is one of the main authors in it. I was in a cohort with her. It'll look more, I took the book cover off, but it's like a green cover, and it's the six, I don't know if I included the link in the agreement, but I put it in, I think in there somewhere. But this book is one that I usually will hand to lead pastors who are saying, I want to try to get our church to be more next gen minded. And it's one that I've handed many of our young adult pastors, directors over some of the years. It was in 2016. Thanks, Josiah. Yeah, that's right. So 6 essential strategies. And what it is, and I love that it's research based. I'm doing my doctorate right now, and so I've learned a new level and appreciation for research that I've realized, like empirical research, knowing kind of a rubric of what's good research. And I do love what Youth Fuller Institute is doing. I love what Barna. There's a lot of good information out there, but I think the field is growing with research, and I like that this is like evidence based. Some strategies that they've done. The Assemblies of God is actually included in their research, but you can see you can kind of look a little further as to the Assemblies of God is just a little fraction of the research that they've done. So they're looking at how congregations are growing younger, how they are becoming more vibrant, and they list several things in there, and we'll go through a little bit of it. But this is a textbook that I just encourage you guys to get your hands on, read at some point. I know that Jesse's a commuter. We were talking before the call, and some of you are on your drives and you're going different places or listen to podcasts. So if it's an audiobook or it's a resource, and if you can even look at, they have some podcasts as well. And so just some of the information and research that's going out there. I love for Arizona to be known, not just like based on me, but based on our community, that we're kind of in the know when it comes to young adult culture in Arizona. I'd love this to be something where some of you maybe have like a passion point of finding other great research that's out there, what's working well, what are some trends, and that this could be also reverse mentoring and coaching on my end. Like you guys, because what you're finding out in the field, you're saying, hey, Griffin, have you seen this? Have you heard this? My hope would be that together we're learning as a result of this. My hope is in August, as we're kind of wrapping up some of this cohort, we're talking that I, Griffin, have learned out of the young adult leaders in Arizona, because you guys are the experts in your field. So I hope that is making sense, and that's not too much of an expectation on you, but that's how I see you. I see you guys as the ones that I get a call from a young adult pastor out of state, say, Griffin, you guys are killing it in young adults. It's so awesome. And I say, you know what? That's so great to hear. Can you please call Josiah and he can break it down for you, because it's not me. I can reach out to one of you guys, and you're the experts in the field. And so that's my hope and my posture as far as young adults director. It's not a top down. It's I exist here to serve you. I'm here to help you, equip you to be the best version as you can in the field you are in. So is that pretty clear to you guys? So hopefully that makes sense as a whole. Any objections? Anise, I know you're kind of like, not happy with me about that remark, but okay. So I can't not have any smile. So that's great. So you're too easy. Well, hey, one thing I'd like to do before we get any further is let you introduce yourself to the team, because like I said, it's going to come out of relationship, trust as a team. And so Anise, you smiled first. And so I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself. Just kind of tell us kind of where you're born, kind of family dynamics, maybe some of the initial challenges out of the womb. And then, I'm just joking. I'm like, you're like, how far back do you want me to talk? No, that's really deep. I would love for you just to tell us who you are, your church, and kind of don't give us like a couple sentences on like what you do within the church as a whole. So go ahead, Anise.
Hi, my name's Griffin already said it like 20 times. Anise. I'm located in Casa Grande. I attend Passion Church. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Passion Church. We're from a really, really small city, but it's growing. So I can't really say small anymore. But yeah, I am our next gen executive director here at Passion Church. It has been a complete honor just seeing God move in this generation and just preparing for the new wave to come. And so I'm excited to be a part of this cohort. Elise, thank you for you as well. I just guys, do Ripple Effect. If you haven't done it yet, join Ripple Effect. Just a little plug-in. I just did the last semester and it was absolutely amazing and such knowledge and wisdom. So Elise, I want to say thank you. And Griffin, you as well. Thank you for taking time to pour into us. And I'm just excited for what God is going to do through this.
Thanks, Anise. And we'll kind of move down. Has a seat on my screen. We'll have Freddie. And actually, if both of you are available, I have you guys could both share.
So it's just me right now. At least she's taking care of payroll, so various stuff. So,
Okay.
But my name's Freddie. I'm from Yuma. At least kind of spoiled it for me, but I'm from Yuma, Arizona, very southwest corner, 30 minutes away from Mexico, and kind of close to San Diego and Phoenix, so around there. But I'm the youth admin and also the young adults director. So I manage almost everything youth and everything young adults and everything else in between, I guess I would say. So I help transition the youth that are getting out of high school into young adults, and that's something that we've been seeing a lot of, and we've been seeing a lot of growth in young adults lately. I started a Bible study in late March, and since then it started from like 6, 7, it's been close to about 20. So it's just something that's so cool that God is moving within the young adults, and I'm so excited to continue to watch them grow through all that. And thank you, Griffin, for this, and Elise for both of you guys tag teaming this. And just I'm so excited for what's about to happen.
It's Freddie. Thank you, bro. All right, Ritza.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Maritza. I'm from Fuente de Vida Church in Chandler, just down the street from Desert Springs Church. This is actually my first year doing ministry. I grew up as a pastor's kid, so I kind of had my foot in everything. And so late last year, my dad said, "It's your time to be young adults pastor." And I was like, oh, so this is all really new for me. So I'm just learning. We've just been seeing a really big growth in our church with young adults. We actually have more young adults than we do youth right now. So we're just really trying to work with them and getting them excited about serving and just following God and creating community.
That's so great. Come on, PKs. It's one thing to be called by your heavenly Father, but also your father. You're doing young adult ministry. That's awesome. All right, Jamin.
Everybody.
Thanks.
I am Jamin, and I pastor at Journey Church in Cottonwood, Arizona. So give it up to small towns. I'm also a PK, and so have the same dynamic. And I am the discipleship and missions pastor here at Journey. But I also run our church internship college program and youth and young adults. And I oversee our kids ministry too. So
if you could have started with
doing
what
it
you
all.
don't do, that would have been a little bit more descriptive. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so it's great. No, and our young adults group, we had a couple in the church that was running it for the last year, and they were doing such a good job with it, but they had to step away just for life reasons. And so I've been heading that up and trying to train and recruit some other leaders to work with me to pour into our young adults. We run about, on average, about 15 young adults in our group, and we do worship nights 1 week a month, and then we do a Bible study 1 week a month. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, and to qualify, you guys say you're part of a small town, but just so you like, because I know you mentioned that too, Denise, but your towns have Dutch Bros, right? But doesn't
Right.
Casa Grande have a Dutch Bros now? Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, just in your mind, I don't know what you're thinking about rural town. You're like, I don't know, Jamin, like,
Yeah, we're civilized.
they're
We're
big
civilized.
enough research wise. Like Dutch Bros has acknowledged them on the map. So,
Casa Grande has, like, you're on one street and everything's on that one street.
that's awesome.
It's great though.
That's good. All right, Jesse.
Hey, my name is Jesse Sharp. I'm very excited to be on this call. I feel like I'm on the call. I feel like I'm like a security guard for like the Avengers Tower, and you guys are the Avengers, so it's kind of really cool to be here. I'm humbled to be a part of this. Married, my wife's name is Holly. Married it'll be 4 years this year, and we serve as the life group coordinators at Radiant Church in Surprise. Fun fact, Christian Chambliss actually was my last youth pastor for the last 2 years in high school, actually. So there's a really cool connection there. So it's really awesome to be back under the fold with him. But yeah, we're really excited. We just stepped into this role in February. That's when we launched life groups. So my wife and I, we lead one, and there's 3 others. We have an average weekly attendance right now between 35 and 40 across all 4 life groups. And so just really excited to see that grow. There's a sleeping giant of young adults, at least at Radiant Church. There's a lot of them. It's an untapped demographic that I'm really excited to just be partnered up with Christian and helping wake it up. So, yeah.
Awesome, Jesse. We're part of a great team there. Love Christian. And was that at Compel, or where was he your youth pastor?
Yeah, Compel. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
So I would have met you. I would have had to, right?
Totally. I totally recognize. Absolutely.
That's so cool.
I don't remember exactly when. It was a while ago, but yeah, I was at Compel there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome getting to see you in your different life stage, and thanks for serving in young adults, man. I think honestly, I still feel like the security guard in the Avengers. So that don't get too familiar with that. It's just how it is. So you're definitely welcomed on this team, man. And glad to have you a part of the call. Christian spoke really highly too of how you're serving in the church. So, Josiah.
What up? Fun story. Jesse was actually there the first time I spoke at Christian's youth group. So I also went to Capel. So it's cool to see you again, man. But my name's Josiah. What's up? I love this. My name's Josiah. I am the young adult coordinator at 2911 Church out here in Tempe. So a super small town. I don't know if you have it. We are a church that has always been booming with young adults. So it's just a really fantastic community to be a part of. And I'm super honored to be able to help lead the young adults here at 2911. Super excited for this cohort because, in the back of my mind, I've always been like, oh man, I need to reach out to other young adult leaders. I need to do this. And then Griffin texted me the other week and I was like, yes, let's do this. I'm super excited, but it's cool to hear how you guys do things because kind of the same way. We run young adults not as a service, but as a community groups. And so right now we're running 4 community groups with some fantastic leaders that I have that are just loving on the young adults because I can't do it all by myself. Our goal is to grow with the church, to grow adults, and to just keep building community groups and leaders as we continue to grow and just love on different groups, love on different demographics. So like next year, we're hoping to get a young adult couple group going. We're hoping to get a group on GCU campus. So I'm just super excited. And I know that this group will be, this cohort will be something that will definitely push me to the next level of leadership, that will push me to a place where, ultimately I don't know what I'm doing. So it's going to be great to talk with other people who might know what they're doing.
Awesome. I'm pumped to have you part, and it's cool to see. I know there's like several different paths that we've crossed part of this cohort too. So to hear, the investments of like a Christian Chambliss and Compel, Jacob Jester, all that there's just I think that's part of what I love about our ministry network is we're probably more familial than we are anything else. It is like a family of God, and you feel like sometimes you're just one person removed from like, oh yeah, like we kind of know these people. But I think that's something to the intentionality. And so it just doesn't happen. It's just like you're intentional to go seek out. Networking can be such a dirty word, I think, depending on the motive behind networking. But it's something that I encourage. I think when you understand it more from this kingdom net, it's a network of the family of God, and you realize that so much of ministry flows out of relationships. Relationships take time, and there's a posture of having a self-serving mindset behind having I'm just gonna have a network. I'm just gonna have like these people that are there when I need them. I think most people can kind of read through some of that stuff when it's like, man, you're just like you give networking the bad name in it. That's not what networking is meant to be. Networking is meant to be more of a servant leadership mindset of how can I bring you, maybe there's things I have and you put it on the table, and you look at a room like this, and it's, or Zoom like this, you're seeing all the different angles that we're seeing ministry from. And there's a mentality, and that's something that I had in my notes today. One of the main things is that we have this better together mentality in Arizona. And what that means is it's not exclusive, but there's no like insider group. And sometimes it's the perception and optics can be that way, but the way the way we tried to kind of maybe take that narrative or suppress that narrative down is the idea that you change someone's optics by giving them a new experience. And sometimes maybe the optics is, oh man, I wish I was part of that inside group. I wish I was, but then once you're part of that, you realize, okay, everyone that's in this room, everyone's in this space, was invited in here, and probably had to work their way a little bit into this and be intentional about it. They didn't just kind of come to them. And so what we say in Arizona, to put it real simply, is that everyone is an insider who wants to be. And the open door policy is just kind of how we operate when it comes to being better together. It's this understanding, the old African proverb, you can go, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And we've taken that latter statement to heart. We want to go far. We want to take this as far as we possibly can go when it comes to the kingdom of God. And we know sometimes that means slowing it down a little bit. You guys taking the next 4 calls over the course of the next couple months on investing in yourself or putting a cohort leadership journey together meant you slowing down for your Monday afternoons for a little bit to invest in yourself so that you can reshape perspective and maximize what you have. I can't promise you more hours in your day. I can't promise you that your youth ministry is going to grow, or sorry, your young adult ministry is going to grow. I can't promise you that your church leadership and all this, like those are all these kind of outcomes of potential things. But I think, there's one way to measure ministry, and like it's outcome leadership, outcome based metrics. And that's actually how I'm starting to posture more things. Even in my doctorate, that's kind of how the whole team at One Hope, who's doing stuff, they measure the ministry based on outcomes. And I think it's important because at the end, we'll have to give evidence of, did we bear fruit? Is this stuff actually going to work? But I think sometimes we look at the outcome based stuff to say, if I want these results, then it means I'm going to have to put in the necessary inputs to achieve some of those things. And so some of this stuff may sound like some crazy misalignment of why would I slow down like this in order to get something where the immediate need is our community is growing. My pastor was asking me wear all these multiple hats, but I'm telling you, in Arizona, my hope isn't that this year we see your young adult ministry boom. My hope is that decades from now, you love the Lord, your family is serving Jesus, and that the culture of Arizona is before God found faithful. That to me would mean way more than anything when it comes to the numbers that we see this year happen. And so I just want you to know the posture in my heart. You know, what Pastor Harris asked me 10 years ago, Griffin, would you come serve? I'm not looking for a couple of years, but would you give me a decade? Well, I'm on year 12 right now, and he's done retiring. And I'm telling you just very transparently, I told Pastor Harris, I'm like, I want to keep championing you, lifting your arms. Like Marjorie, his wife, is training someone else on an executive admin role right now. And I'm just like, I still feel like I get to be part of these legends that I invited me to do ministry with them. And I want to keep honoring them, the legacy they will continue to live. They're not retiring. Like they're going to keep doing stuff for the kingdom. And I think it'll keep advancing. And I love that. Like that inspires me more than I can possibly tell you anything. But then next to that, I'm also recognizing there's new leadership coming in, who I love so much. Jeff Peterson and him and Carla are going to do an incredible job. It's going to be probably different. There's going to be new direction and things that we'll do. And I'm so excited about that. And just again, transparently, like where I'm at, I have no intent to go anywhere. Like I'm like, Lord, as long as the vision is here and the invitation is here to keep advancing what you're doing in the kingdom. My call wasn't based on a personal Pastor Harris asking me to come and serve a decade here. I felt like, God, if you open the door and pave the way, we're going to continue making more room for a generation to encounter Jesus. So if there's ever any question, like, where's young adults, where are we at as a whole? Like, I just want to keep being found faithful. Like, I want to keep stewarding the movement of what God's doing in Arizona. And so that's where my heart is. I have a real strong conviction for women in ministry and preparing the way for women in ministry. I think that there's a grace on Arizona in a way that we get away with doing certain things that the rest of the country may be a little bit more traditional and boxed in on how they've done things. And so I feel like there's a grace and permission for Arizona to be this Wild West pioneer state. And people ask us questions like, how do you guys do this? And we're saying, well, we just do it and we ask for forgiveness later. But I think God's given us a permission and a blessing on incredible women in ministry. And I know that that's not the case across the nation, where the same demographic holds up true in other parts of the state, parts of the nation. We've had leaders leave Arizona to go to different districts and say, man, this is a lot tougher. And thank you for, providing a way in Arizona for women in ministry. But I also feel like a personal responsibility to it, because I'm in the ministry today as some of the byproduct of women in ministry. My great aunt Vivian Piper she held her credentials in the Assemblies of God. There was a time when the Assemblies of God did not credential women in ministry. And so I recognize that. The Foursquare Church, Amy Semple McPherson was one of the pioneer Pentecostal evangelists, and Amy Semple McPherson, you know that name, very much a forerunner when it comes to women in ministry. And my great aunt Vivian was her right hand in ministry, traveled with her, did a lot of things inspired by her, but still had her roots like in the Assemblies of God. And so the moment the AG opened the door for women to get credentialed, my aunt Vivian Piper became credentialed. And she held her credentials all the way through to the end of her life. She was 101 when she passed. And she was a Sunday school teacher, faithful, served in Minnesota and then Washington State. And so I know, like, the mantra that she would say, she would always say, lean into Jesus. And just when you feel like you can't lean anymore, lean harder. And that's something, like, as a mantra, my whole family says, like, we're like, just keep leaning into Jesus, just keep going. And that faithfulness, that resilience, that grit I'm a product of today. So I recognize this, but I also felt the Lord convict me in my heart years ago about having women in leadership in Arizona. And what am I doing as kind of a gatekeeper in a way of preparing women for leadership? And it spoke to me a couple different things. It was women in ministry, but also in minorities. And I felt like God convicted me one summer during our camps, saying, God's saying to my heart, Griffin, I'm calling a young minority girl into ministry. What are you doing to help pave the way for her? And I was like, I felt like I could try to answer, but then I started to really think through in the process. Do they see what it really looks like? One of our leaders, Brandy Martinez, I was trying to talk with her about officiating a wedding. She was invited to officiate a wedding. She's like, I'm excited. I was like, what do you need help with? How can I help? She's like, well, I don't know what to wear. She's like, I'm officiating this wedding. Do I wear a dress or do I wear like a pantsuit? And I was like, I'm like, she's like, I've never seen another woman officiate a wedding. I was like, no, it's really cool. You choose. I'm like, you get to choose this. I'm like, I don't know. There's no precedent. If you haven't seen it, then you be the first. And so like, I think about some of these things where maybe my great Aunt Vivian was a Sunday school teacher, some of the women, it was like they were invited at the table, but it was like only certain seats that you saw women do and lead in ministry. And it was like, well, there's certain seats that are reserved for them, but not others. And I just felt this in my heart, like not just women, but also minorities and groups that God is calling. And if we haven't seen it yet, then someone's got to pave the way. And there's a baseball quote, so bear with me here, but in Moneyball, a movie in the book, there's a quote that says, the first one through the wall gets bloodied. And it's this idea of it's not easy being first. Sometimes you're the one hitting the opposition, and it's hard. And I think in Arizona, sometimes that's us. It takes not just this pioneer mentality, but this grittiness and this, like, I'm going to stand for truth. I know this to be true. And so my heart is, as a leader, I feel like anytime when I think of leadership, it's about anticipating what are the roadblocks coming up, and having vision and foresight to see what are the main issues we're heading into, and understanding who's following you. So leadership is not about me, it's about those who are coming next. And so if I can anticipate what's coming, and as a leader, it's like a servant leader posture. It's not about me, but it's about, in a lot of ways, surrendering my privilege or paving a way through sacrifice and surrender so that I can pave a clear path for those who are coming next. And that's why there is stories of sacrifice, stories of surrender, stories of, Jesus did it first. He left the splendor of heaven. And that is wrapped up in the gospel, is this, like, he didn't, he left everything, and he brought in and ushered in the kingdom here on this earth in a way that was through surrender, through sacrifice. And so I think in us as followers of Jesus, we're being asked in the same posture to lay down our lives out of love for those who are coming next. And so again, I commend each of you for, like, everything in this world would say contrary, like what you're doing is in vain. Like, they would say, this makes zero sense. Why are you contending for a generation like this? However, I believe it's the very ones in this call, and ones like you, who are the ones making the most significant impact. And so you're defying the odds. I understand that, but my hope would be, I want to see you found faithful. And so one thing I want to do is, in this cohort, is help you, if you haven't already, develop a personal mission statement. Out of the call right now, is there anyone, it's not, I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but does anyone on the call already have what you would call a personal mission statement for yourself? You can kind of like show your hand if you have a personal mission statement. Okay, Elise. And that's okay, because this is good. My hope would be.
Do you mean like just for like myself, or for like
I'd say for yourself. Yeah, for you. One thing I'd love to help you with in this, and this is something when I am mentoring and coaching people, I really challenge you to. It's something that was kind of called out of me, was to develop and articulate a personal mission statement. So as kind of like a homework, and that's why I try to not take the full amount of time today, but give you a little bit of margin to think about maybe writing down or crafting some ideas behind a personal mission statement. And I'm going to give you some major hints here and helping you. I would encourage you highly that it should come as a byproduct of Jesus's personal mission statement. Did you know that Jesus had a personal mission statement? He was on assignment. Not only did he fulfill prophecy, what was prophesied about him, but there are a few times in scripture where Jesus says, this is why I've come. And I think it's really important for us, because in this book, you thought I was going to bring out the Bible, but no, that's that too. But this book too, our textbook, is there's a page 95 And they're talking about what is it that our youth and young adults are, what keeps them up at night, the deepest questions they think about. And the deepest questions they asked, number one is, who am I? Number two, where do I fit in? Number three, what difference do I make? And I'm going to kind of repeat them in different ways, but the who am I question is ultimately asking about identity. The second question, where do I fit, is ultimately asking about belonging. And number three, what difference do I make, is your purpose. And the focus on these three questions, the first one, the focus is on me. The second question, the focus is on us. And the third question is on our world. And these three questions, indirectly or indirectly, consciously, subconsciously, these are keeping a generation up. And I, for probably 5-6 years since Young Adult Ministries has launched, we've been trying to answer these three questions through all that. We've put them on the table. And so when it comes to our resourcing with young adults, conversations with leaders, our events, from the pop-ups to the summer weekends to worship nights, like we've always put it in a lens of, are we answering felt needs? Because here's the thing, people only want to be served how they want to be served. And so knowing a felt need is super important. And I'm going to ask you, how can I serve you in this leadership journey? And so a personal mission statement kind of puts some ownership on yourself to say, what am I learning and growing in? And I don't think that's like the end game, like the byproduct of this cohort is just you can have a nice mission statement polished. I think that would be a great product, an outcome, one of them. But I think through that process of defining your personal mission statement will help you develop a little bit further into it. And so I'll give you a verse, Luke 19:10. You want to write down Luke 19:10, that'd be a good place to start about with Jesus' personal mission statement. But then look through and just consider in the Gospels when Jesus is talking about why he's come. One of my mentors encouraged me, his name's Monty Hip, and he said this, and I thought it was really powerful. He said, you're going to be more defined by what you say no to in life than the things you say yes to. Now, in the same office as me, she's not here right now or today, but Monica Ortialis, she's very much known for this like quote, and I always like quoting her because I'm like, Monica, this is you, but your yes to Jesus will change the world. And I believe that with my whole heart. Your yes to Jesus will change the world. Your obedience to him, your posture of surrendering to him. I think though, there are a lot of mini yeses along the way that help you get to that big yes. And there's also some yeses that can compromise your greatest yes. And so there's some things in this season where there's going to be opportunity left and right. And maybe in this journey, having a solid mission statement will help you kind of block out all the peripheral stuff and keep a clear focus on what is most important. There's a lot of good things, but they may not be all God things. And so if you can have at the end of the day this integrity within yourself to say, I can put my head under my pillow and know that God, I'm on a mission, and I'm here to serve what you've asked me to do. Nothing more and nothing less than what God has asked of us. I think we would be so much more effective in ministry and leadership. And so that's my hope for you. On some of the other calls, I think what I'm going to do is talk about rhythms. I'm going to talk about healthy rhythms. My hope would be, again, just I'm looking holistically as you as a leader to establish healthy rhythms. And I mean that in your daily rhythms, your weekly rhythms, and your annual rhythms. When we talk about balancing life and ministry, I hate that because it's like chasing a unicorn. What is balancing life and ministry? Go ahead, talk on it. Because I feel like you're gonna stumble all over your words. No one's balancing life and ministry. If they're doing it and writing books on it, I'd love to see them back it up, because that is not realistic. We don't balance life and ministry. The gospel is foolishness to the world because it's the power of the resurrection. The resurrection message is about falling and getting back up. It's about dying and being resurrected. And so, like, grit to me is not the ability to live a balanced life. Grit to me is you don't see failure as the final answer, but you see that failure is going to be part of the process. And so rhythms acknowledge I quit every week. It's called Sabbath. I understand I can't do this on my own. You're living out the gospel message. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit more, not as much today, but I want you to really highly consider and feel the conviction, feel the weight of, am I honoring God with my rhythms? Am I Lord of my schedule, or have I entrusted Jesus to be king over my calendar? And that's a convicting thing, because I'm telling you, I tried to somehow explain it away in my young adulthood, and it really didn't set me up for success in different ways. But my hope would be, can I help you pave a clearer path so you're learning some of these things early, and just I want to see you finish strong. Like, that's my hope in this as a whole. So one other thing I want to do is highlight, kind of like do a young adult ministry highlight, and just have you guys consider a model that's happening right now. It might be one of us. Today, I'm going to ask Ashley, just as we kind of conclude our call today, to ask Ashley just to give us a kind of a model of like a look in of what is young adult ministry looking like, and it kind of give you a little bit of perspective on some of the other calls. I may try to have some of our people join. I'm trying to get Tyshawn, who's speaking at our young adults summer weekend. Maybe have Tyshawn. We have Theo Ryan, who's going to be with us as well. So I'm going to try to get some guests to kind of share some things. So you're not just hearing from me, but hearing from different leaders. But I think it'd be really good. And I asked Ashley about this prior to see if Ashley would just share, give us just a little look in of what's your young adult ministry looking like, the rhythm you guys are at as a whole. It may just give you guys some options or ideas to consider. And then at the end, I'll just kind of challenge you with a couple of those homework things about, how to begin your personal mission statement, and what we can be looking forward to our next call. So Ashley, you want to just kind of give us a little look in at Desert Springs young adults?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I'm trying to remember. I feel like after 2020, all the years, I don't know, time is different. So I'm how many years I've been doing young adults? But I think I've been doing it young adults at Desert Springs for 4 years. I think sounds about right, full time. So it kind of started out we didn't really have a young adult ministry at all. A lot of our young adults were involved in youth ministry, and so they were youth leaders, but we noticed what happens, which I'm sure you guys know, is when someone graduates high school, they either want to be a youth leader because they have a passion for students, or they want to be a youth leader because they don't really have anywhere else to go. Or they just kind of get swallowed up because they feel like they're too young for women's ministry, men's ministry, all that kind of stuff. And so, so we were just kind of trying to figure out what do the young adults of Chandler and Desert Springs, what are they, what's their felt need, kind of like you were talking about, Griffin. And so I will have to say, when I first started out, we did a lot of just community building things. We just meet at my house, stuff like that, just to get to know people, just so people could see, hey, there's other young adults at this church that you don't know. And so that was really cool. We kind of started off that way, and kind of morphed into what we are now, which is we meet every single week on Monday nights from 6:30 to 8. And mostly what our ministry looks like is it's a small group ministry. So it's not small groups that meet at different places. We all meet together. We start off, welcome, announcements, kind of hey, check in with your group. We have table leaders, and I'll do a little teaching, and then we go straight into small group discussion. So that's the kind of the skeleton of what a Monday night will look like, but it changes a lot. Little things about it will change. Sometimes we'll close out a series with worship, a worship night or a worship and a sermon. But for the most part, we don't have a service, because number one, we meet on Monday nights. So they just had a service on Sunday. And so we don't want to have we didn't want to really recreate a Sunday service at night for young adults. We wanted it to be something where they can get to know each other, really dig into the word, and discuss like what's going on in their lives, what's going on in the world, what is God doing in their life, and things like that. And so it started off with just like a lot of our small group leaders were also young adults. They were just older young adults, but actually got really inspired by Reggie when he came for our young adult conference. I don't know. I know most of you guys were there at the pop-up it wasn't this past year, but the year before. He was talking about how they have their small groups, but their table leaders are like older adults, like, like over 40. So not even in the same demographic as young adults. And how he just was talking about how much it's really helped, because a lot of these young adults they almost want like a mentor or spiritual parents, because some of them are kind of transplants where they moved here for a job. They don't have family here. They don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving or Christmas, or they don't have somebody who can help them do things that or learn how to do things that young adults need to learn how to do, like budget, go grocery shopping, all those kind of like basic things that we kind of take for granted. Like they don't have that. They don't have someone that they could just like go over there and get advice or whatever. And some people don't have really good relationships with their parents. And so I think one thing God really put on my heart was to, I would say like my mission statement for like what God has called me to do with young adults is to raise up faithful, effective followers of Jesus. That's what I always say, because it's like, I know we can get really stuck on like how many people are in our group, but one thing I felt really convicted about was, man, I don't want the young adults that have been a part of like the ministry God has entrusted into me to be immature baby Christians. Like I want our church to be full of like mature Christians, like with like spiritual maturity, that are constantly pursuing God and allowing him to change them, and allowing the Bible to like change the way they think and change the way that they respond and who they are. And so I tend to do like and every other kind of a series. So we'll do a series that's topical, and then after that, like we'll still be in the word, but it's based on like a topic. Like we did one of the last one we did was like from an old school practicing the way John Mark Comer was dealing with your past. And we talked about like attachment style and narratives and lies and truths that we live by. And now we're doing a study of the book of Romans. So we'll do like topical, and then we'll go through a book of the Bible. And so that way I feel like people are really learning how to study the Bible, because I feel like I didn't learn how to study the Bible until like adulthood, like when I was like when I was going through AZYA to become a pastor. Like I knew how to read my Bible, but I didn't know how to study it and like really like allow it to change me. And so that's really what I feel like God has called me to as well. So is to help young adults to learn how to study the Bible. So, but we'll do different things. Like we'll do, when we close out a series or something like that, we do like a lot of fun things like game night or community things that is just for building community, just to like kind of like break the ice, help people to get to know each other better. But I think the main thing that has really worked for us lately with our small group thing is having the leaders who are adults that have like, or at least like a generation above, and being really intentional in how you break up the small groups. So like I actually assign people to a small group leader based on like our core group. So if a new person comes, obviously like you kind of see how that goes, and then you can let them sit like where they fit. But I've noticed that, because before I've done like, oh, pick wherever you want to sit, and then people obviously sit with their friends, or people don't know where to sit, so they just kind of like find a seat. But I was like really intentional about praying and being like, God, who do you want me to put at what table? And then having them sit there consistently for like 6 to 8 weeks. I just seeing, especially the guys, like seeing how the guys have opened up so much and are like really like leaning in and sharing in their group and all that. Because girls, I mean, generally speaking, like we could talk about anything for like 4 hours. It doesn't matter. But like it was kind of hard to get the guys to open up. So I feel like being consistent, being intentional about where you're putting people, and then working on like really building relationships within your small groups, and really challenging our leaders to like follow up with their young adults at their table, like, hey, these are your young adults, like you own them in a way, you know, not really, but so like checking it up on them and praying for them and stuff like that. And what I really love is I see the fruit of that, because like on a Sunday morning, I'll see like our young adults sitting with their leaders like on a Sunday morning, you know. I just think it's so cute. But one of the challenges that I think I've faced, or a couple of them, is one is like, it's so awesome to see what other people are doing, but I know like in the beginning there was like that comparison, like, or that temptation to be like, oh, I want to do what this group is doing because they're doing so well and they're growing, which is great, and there's nothing wrong with that in a sense, but really kind of like surrendering your ministry to the Lord and being like, God, what are you calling me to do here where I've been planted? And just like really listening to God and allowing him to just influence like how you formulate your ministry. And like, if you want to do a service, if you want to do small group tables, or if you want to do kind of like what you're doing at Radiant, where you have a bunch of different small groups. Yeah, because it's good to glean from others, but you always want to make sure that, you know, you're doing what God's calling you to do, what your church is being called to. But then another thing is, obviously, like, I hate to admit it, but it's like when the attendance numbers start to dwindle during certain seasons, like, even though I know like growth like is not just measured by like numbers, it's also measured by like depth, and like if people are like really being discipled, it still gets me, man. Like a couple weeks ago, there was like 16 people at Young Adults, and I know like for some that's a lot, but we were running like 35 and like consistently. And so when you walk into a night like that, I just remember being like, dang, like I know I'm not the only one who notices that hardly anybody's here, you know. And I had to really pray and like really get my heart right. But what was really cool was like that night, it was such an amazing night, and there were so many really cool things that happened in small group. And so just reminding yourself, like, yeah, attendance can dwindle sometimes, and you always want to like check and make sure, like, hey, you know, am I missing something? Am I not being intentional? Am I not connecting? All those things, but really ultimately just to keep in mind that like it's okay, sometimes that happens, and those people are still worth your time, you know, even if it's a small group that night and you have less people showing up for a little while, like God is still working, and to just like not get too discouraged, you know. And then another thing is that I've learned is if you do fail, it's okay. Try something different. Like, try something that you've never tried before. Do it consistently. Don't just do it for 2 weeks. Do it for a while. See what happens, because it does take people to like a little bit of time to get used to it. And if it's going well, keep doing it. But if it doesn't, it's okay to change things up. It's okay to be like, all right, let's take it back and do something else. But don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to try new things. So yeah, that's kind of like what we're doing right now. We take a little bit of a break in the summer where we just have like a lot of stuff going on. So we kind of take a break for June and part of July, and then we start back up like in the middle of July, and then have a big kickoff like in the middle of August for like when a lot of our like community groups like start and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know. Is that what you were looking for, Griffin,
Yeah,
or did I
no,
miss anything?
that's great. It kind of gives us a little bit of a look in, and don't miss how she said at the beginning. She said, you know, this is 4 years about being like all in with this, and the relationships that began, like you said, having people over for dinner, you know, just the relational equity that you're building with the young adult community. You know, you build that in trust, and it's discipling. You know, you're making disciples, and actually have done that so well. And over the past couple of years, she's been our intern coordinator during the summer youth camps. And so what she's talking about, teaching them how to do the like a Bible study and actually study the word. You know, some of our great qualified youth leaders who come up as interns and they met all the mark. Some of them, they're ambitious, they wanted to pursue ministry, but they've never really studied the Bible. And that's no knock on maybe a little bit on their local church, but it's like, okay, are we missing something? Because, you know, they're ambitious, they're ready, but they're like, when asked about, do you know how to really study the Bible, they're under challenged. And so, you know, it's been really fun seeing, like, over the course of a summer, putting him into a program like this, or putting him into a internship to say, we believe in you, we see this. Kind of like what we're doing is not intensive, but we are doing a cohort for you guys through this summer, and just see, like, you know, you kind of measure by the end of this time, am I closer to Jesus? Am I more on mission? Is there more clarity as to my result of, you know, intentionally pursuing? And so another thing I love, Ashley, is that you mentioned the intergenerational discipleship. So understanding there's a hunger for mentoring, but you're intentionally networking for them. And some of that for young adults is breaking the ice. Like, I wish I could have a mentor. You're like, well, have you asked? Oh no. Like, so you become the one who's breaking the ice to kind of like, hey, have you guys met? Have you? So again, if it's a dirty word, networking, it's very self-serving. But when networking is done in the way of discipleship, it's, man, like, we're much more alike than we ever realized. And you just kind of, you're on the lookout. Your Sunday looks very much more like in the lobby, you're not just being so focused into one little corner, but you're thinking of, man, is everyone connecting? Is everyone kind of, am I helping facilitate community? Am I helping facilitate the life in our church? And I think as young adult leaders, you guys are bridge builders, intergenerationally. So we're going to talk more on that as well, but thank you, Ashley, for giving us kind of a look into Desert Springs young adults. And if you don't mind, just sharing your contact on the chat too, because if you know, if others have questions to kind of follow, and you want to ask Ashley a little further about kind of what that skeleton looks like on a Monday night. And in fact, if you could, I've kind of not put everyone's contact out there from the beginning, but I want that to be kind of voluntarily as a group too. But if you guys wanted to share your contact with the group, just so you guys could exchange, kind of network together, if you don't mind putting your contact into the chat, and you guys can start kind of saving some contacts, because I do think, like I said, this community will be very fruitful, but I think it's going to be what you put into this community is what you're going to get out of it. So I want to just encourage you guys to reach out to each other, ask questions, and then next time we meet, I want to ask you guys to come prepared with some questions you have specific to young adult leadership. And so I know there's a leadership cohort, but even questions you want to send to me ahead of time, I want to know I'm hitting a felt need from you. So I'm kind of putting this together, first cohort, first meeting together, but I want to know I'm hitting felt needs. And over the course of this summer, that you didn't say, well, you never hit this. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to know if that was what you wanted to really address. That helps me help you. And so I feel like I know areas that should be important to you if you're not thinking about them, maybe creating, addressing some blind spots is my hope. But there may be some really pressing stuff that you're like, I can't get over this right now. This is the biggest thing in my life. And it may be where you need to bring it up together in this cohort together, but also could be something offline that you say, Griffin, do you know anyone who has tackled this before? And can I help you address it offline? I'm happy to do that. I don't want you to feel I'm only accessible in these cohort Zoom settings. I want to be available as your young adult director, and just keep that posture of, I know you'll hear me. I don't use the word busy. I've eliminated that from my vocabulary. I don't like the word at all, but I will say life has my full attention. I'm in a very, very full focus time in my life where much is required of me. But I don't ever want to communicate to you that you're an inconvenience to me, or that I'm too busy for you, because that's not true. And I think that anyone in the list here that want to say, Griffin, if you need me, let's schedule it out. Let's make it happen, because it can be done. It can be addressed. And so I'm grateful to get to do that. Next time we also meet, what I'll likely do, just to further develop the mission statement, I want you to look at the life of Jesus, look at his mission statement. And if you want to start kind of making some stabs for initial drafts of a mission statement, go for it. That's awesome. I'm going to help you kind of guide along the way. Later, I'm going to have you reach out to probably 5 people, different people in your life that see you from different angles. So like a parent, maybe a sibling, a really close friend, but also maybe a pastor or a teacher, coach, who see you from different angles and send you descriptive words about yourself. And it's kind of like, it's probably one of the most enlightening experiences I've had personally for myself, but I love seeing this for others. You could, it's like you send them a text message or an email to a friend and say, hey, I'm doing this project right now. Could you send me a list of 5 descriptive words that you think about when you think of me? And it's really interesting to see the words that come back. And that'll be part of the exercise in developing a mission statement, because this mission statement is personal. It should resemble you, and it should feel like this is some ownership. So if you want to get ahead on that, great. But I think the next time we meet, I'll try to bring that up again to remind you. You just think of the people that you might ask, and then I'll kind of put that out as an assignment for you guys to further develop, because we'll use some of those words as we kind of go through them as maybe some descriptors, vocabulary around the mission statement. And I think it'll be really a really edifying process. So, but yeah, I have so much in my heart I wish I could share with you guys. And I know it's like limited time that we'll have, but I do want to just honor to you like the commitment of our time together being as impactful as I can make it. And again, just thank you for making the investment in yourself and the community, your family, the people you represent. You're super valuable to Arizona. So I'm grateful for you. All right. I promise to leave you a little bit of time. Can I just pray for you before we go? And actually, at least you're driving right now, but are you able to pray over the team?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm actually not the one driving. I wouldn't be looking at the screen. So I'm in the passenger seat.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to pray us out. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you, Lord, so much for the opportunity to do this together, God, to be in community and to grow together, to hold each other's arms up. God, I pray for every single leader that is on this call. I pray for just a supernatural protection over them. God, I pray a multiplication over their efforts. God, that every single thing that they do, that you would take it to a place that only you can. While we are good stewards and we're intentional to do what we can do, God, you only do what you do. And we pray in Jesus' name that you would take it to a place that only you can. God, we're so grateful to get to serve you in your kingdom, to build your church. And God, we just thank you again for this time. We pray a prayer of blessing over every single person that's on this call. Go before us the rest of this week. We thank you so much. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Everyone said, amen. Amen.
All right. Love you guys so much. You all have a great Monday. And our next call, we will continue. We'll resume where we're at. Okay. All right. We'll talk soon.
Bye, guys.
Have a great day.